Then you
the,
can't
the
have
total order of entropy in the universe increases.
right. Well, you can't have tornadoes. You can't have hurricanes, and you
Crystals.
can't have the big eye on Jupiter without increase in complexity.
Hmm.
Or
And
more
those
importantly, I can't clean my room because it violates the second law of thermodynamics because I'm creating order from disorder. You
even
can't
better.
create order from disorder.
Good
The
point.
bottom line is that the second law of thermodynamics is very real and it is very accurate, but it doesn't pertain because what happens is I spend, you know, 5 joules of energy cleaning my room. I know it's a ridiculous number. And as far as the environment's concerned, my room going from disorderly to orderly gains 3 joules. So there's still a net loss of 2. We still have the increase. It really applies to closed systems, but in reality, on Earth, we get we get the makeup energy from the sun.
But we
So
also have a hot radioactive core that adds to the geological churning of the Earth as well.
exactly, yeah.
And it's like what is it? I can't remember which moon it is. One of the ones that they think has got a liquid core due to gravity, and the tidal gravity going as it goes around, it constantly pulls and flexes the moon, and you create huge ice sheets that are cracked. Increase in complexity, very little sunlight, and gravity is the factor that's increasing it.
Yeah,
We
the bottom. Go ahead. The bottom line is that there are a couple arguments that anyone even discussing evolution should realize that when you hear them, this person has no clue what the hell they're talking about. This is one of them. No mutations are only bad is another one. Those are giant red flags that the person has, the education in biology of my, oh wow, almost 2/3 empty wine bottle. Anyways.
Well, and then of course you've got quantum mechanics. Let's
Yeah,
throw.
but I mean, I think right now we're talking about theoretical physics with someone who is still crapping their pants. So
And 10
with
is
all due
basically
respect.
about entropy as well. Just saying the sun by itself is not enough, does not provide enough energy for life to
Yeah,
have.
I've never heard of this guy. I don't even know if he's real. He's got. If you go to more detail in his actual article here, many evolutionists say the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to open systems, but it's simply not true. Blah blah. Dr. John Ross of Harvard University states, and then there's 3 dots, so we don't know what's missing. There are no known violations of the second law of thermodynamics. Ordinarily, the second law is stated for isolated systems. And then it goes on and on. He skips some more, and it's important to make sure that it's. I've never heard of this guy. I haven't tried to look him up
I
either.
don't agree that the second. I mean, I completely agree. The second law has never been proven false or anything like that. It's. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it's.
he's implying here that there is somehow so the field of. He's
Look,
saying
it's. Go ahead.
he's saying it here. It's like open system exchange energy with the surroundings. For an open system, the law is stated the total entropy of the system and the surroundings will never decrease. Okay,
There's nothing wrong. Okay.
there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't see how that applies to what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean, if it meant if it had the ramifications that this dishonest author intended it to have, it would be on the front page of Science or Nature or any of the prominent publications. I mean, you would have heard about it.
It would at least would have showed up on
Yeah.
on several blogs
I mean,
as well.
hell, they took the idea that horizontal gene transfer was more prevalent in the past than previously thought is blasted on the cover of half the newspapers on the country and New Scientist with the title "Darwin was wrong." Tell me that if there was actually something, that was a problem for evolution, that it wouldn't be on the front page of everything. Sorry, don't buy it.
No.
Foot mining, plain and simple.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. We're preaching to the choir. We're banging the drum at this point. And this guy, he's talking, like, goes back to what we started to begin with. He's telling people that don't want to believe the information that they want, so that they can spout it whenever they feel like it. And it's like, I love to bring books on evolution and cosmology and stuff like that to work and watch heads explode. Oh, you don't really believe in that? No, I trust in the science. It has nothing to do with belief, sport. And I get that a lot.
Or what number 11? Big Bang is false.
You're right. It's a big expansion.
Really? Well, wait a minute. Hang on. I am supposed to be listening to someone who doesn't know the difference between biology and theoretical physics. Biology and physics, very different. You don't know the difference of them, and you expect me to take your scientific opinion. I mean that's one of those things where it's not even. I mean that speaks for itself. It doesn't even relate to evolution.
Well, it's similar to the DNA, RNA point. Again, like you said, has nothing to do with evolution, but they bring it up in virtually every argument that I read.
Yeah.
You know,
Or number 12 is actually an interesting one. The fossil record doesn't show an increasing complexity. But what he's doing here is he's comparing one study of two direct descendants. By the way, which are evolutionarily related. Evolution was the basis of the study. If it wasn't correct, the study would have no value.
mm-hmm.
And he's comparing things like such as the spirals in the shells, which correlate to corrugated cardboard, meaning strengthening it. And he's counting the backbone and things like that. And it's between two related species, and he's not finding an overall trend in his small sample size. First of all, evolution doesn't state that things must get increasingly complex. It's that trend over time whereby things adapt to their environment, and generally, yes, they do increase in complexity, but we still have relatively simple things alive today. There's nothing wrong with that. What evolution...
Plankton.
Evolution doesn't say that things will automatically get more complex, they will get better. What evolution says, however, and does make clear, is that we will never see something more complicated than its predecessor, in the sense of we will not see, a poodle before trilobites. We won't see it, and we don't see that. Why the hell do we not see that? No creationist can answer that. I mean, why don't we find poodles from the Permian? Why don't we find birds before reptiles? Why don't we find mammals before reptiles? Why don't we find mammals before fish? If everything was created at the same time, why we would expect to find them all together? But we never find a single one. Just one. I'm sorry, it doesn't... I mean, they completely ignore the thing. They're not necessarily taking him out of context. It wasn't a poorly done study, actually. It's rather interesting. But what it demonstrates is that there's no strong selective pressure towards complexity. It's about adaptation in the environment. And it's heck, even if I were to disagree with myself, it's still possible that the selective pressure was too small to be noticed in the small sample size that they used. But then again, the study is contingent on evolution. If you actually read the study, it's assuming that these two are related via evolution. They're different species. So it's like a creationist, like all the recent, it's like a creationist who doesn't believe and denies in carbon dating, using carbon dating to disprove evolution.
Yeah.
Yes,
they do that all the time.
Earth bones don't carbon date. Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where are the transitional fossils? I mean, look, there was
one.
I recall hearing a thing from Ken Miller. Is basically an anecdote of how these paleontologists were at a meeting and they almost got into fistfights over whether to call a new group of things reptile-like mammals or mammal-like reptiles. It's the transitional fossils are so numerous they can barely be counted. The National Academy of Science released a very profound statement on it. Google National Academy of Science transitional fossils. I have a playlist of 3 videos full of transitional fossils. It tells you what they are, where they were found, when they were found, and how we know that they're transitional fossils. In other words, what do we expect to look for? What has to be there in order for us to consider the transitional fossils? It's complete with, photos and all that stuff. I mean, this is, again, one of those things where I got tired of hearing it, so I made videos about it.
But the reason that this argument is used so often is, again, because Joe Sixpack doesn't know shit about transitional fossils.
Exactly.
And he hears a creationist says that, and he's like, by God, that's right. Where are those damn fossils? And
yeah. Or they close their eyes and go, I don't see any fossils.
Yes. Or now there's 2 gaps.
Exactly.
Yeah, and go from chimp to human, find the intermediate, and what happened from chimp to human, call it a creationist in the middle, and then you say, well, what's between chimp and creationist, and what's between creationist and human? You know what I mean? There's no.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been seeing a trend, and I've been debating this. I've been debating evolution since the '90s when people started showing me books, The Death of Evolution, and all these other things. And I've been debating this with people, and evolution's my pet science. That really took me from doubting to disbelief because it.
I agree. Yeah.
But the big killer for me is I have watched, and I've even in the last 10 years of where I work, the people I work with, I have watched these trends where we are actually gaining ground. And what we're seeing with these people that are coming out louder and louder and louder is they're losing. And they're losing the battle and they're losing the people. And so they're getting louder and louder and louder, trying to hold on to the power they have. Because it's not about evolution. It's not about science. It's about who's in charge. Who's going to make the rules that we have to live by? And they're losing because I've seen the guys from work go from there's no such thing as global warming to it's natural global warming, or we might be doing something. I've seen the same deniers go from no, the world is exactly 6,000 years old. Well, it could be 6 to 10,000 year old to, well, it could be a few million years old.
Yeah.
Well, we know the world's old, but God stepped in. And then we're now to the point where evolution is true, but it's just God directed. So we're chiseling away at this with winds like Dover, and
to me, it has to be in the media. It has to be in popular culture. I mean,
Yes.
there are a few things that could change a person's mind. There's reason and evidence, but if people accepted that, they would accept evolution to begin with. But
we have jet
you
cars.
really you can go with violence, or you can go with ridicule. And I think that it shows like Family Guy. There's a lovely image of average, retarded, creationist Peter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Down at the bottom, it's a scale of things, and stuff like that is what gets people to laugh at them.
Yeah.
And when you laugh at them, that gets them. That's what we have to do, in my opinion. But
No, I
Well,
agree.
we're actually winning the argument, and I see it more and more. And the few that are left that are finally, like the Discovery Institute, they've gone from a very strong stance to a weak stance to a weak stance to a weaker stance, down to their whisper. And then they got guys like this that are, and sorry, Marshall, but they're getting published on the Huffington Post, and a mostly opinion-based political magazine or online magazine, and they're not hitting it anywhere else. They're falling by the wayside on most schools. I think we've won the battle. Well, there's still going to be a few arguments left, but we've won the battle with evolution and schools. It's finally pretty much over, and we're starting to get converts. We're starting to get the followers who are out there that only follow along with what's popular, like you said, with what's popular. And they're starting to go, well, all this other stuff is just silly. And it's slowly we're winning. But the death throes is what we're witnessing. These guys are out here desperately trying to hold on to what little power they have, and it's falling by the wayside.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think, again, popular culture is really the way to move on at this point. I think the information's out there, especially now in the age of the internet. You can find, education and mockery. I like a good combination of both, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Whitney, I'm gonna let you handle bird evolution in your upcoming videos that you're gonna do.
Oh, you don't want me to talk about it here?
Or do you want to do it now? I didn't.
Well, we can real quick. Actually, I was reading an interesting article today that I thought I'd share with you, and it's basically for all human beings, most animals, whether they're birds, reptiles, mammals, we start off with webbed fingers. But what happens is via a process